you're looking for a professional, if you know people that are unemployed and that type of thing, they should consider that. Because as Tyrone mentioned, there is no one on this planet who is wealthy that does not own real estate. In this economy, the Rockefellers became very wealthy because of the Depression. They bought up everything. Everything was discounted. And even now, in many cases, you get 50% off. And the same thing, hold on a second, the same thing with FHA. It was created by President Roosevelt during the Depression to get people to buy houses, to be able to afford it. So 3.5%, that's a very good number. Like you said, on $100,000, that's $3,500. In addition to that, most of the time we try to get our buyers sellers assistance. In most cases, you can get up to 6%. So on $100,000, you're going to get $6,000. Okay? So these are all the things that you really, and I'll get to you at the end, Tony.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah, so those are the things that you want to be mindful of. So that's what that is. And so once you either will get a pre-approval prior to coming to a real estate professional, agent, or broker, and then we will begin to, number one, we by law, as of 1997, you must be given the consumer notice. Now this is going to let you know how thorough the real estate person is. Because, you know, everybody thinks real estate professional, I just want to get your money. There are steps. And this consumer notice, as Desiree had in her packet, I think, the consumer notice tells you what all the different types of agencies are in the state of Pennsylvania. You have a seller's agent, that is when the agent is representing the seller. You have a buyer's agent, you're going to sign a business relationship agreement, hiring that agent or broker to represent you, okay? And that's an employment contract that you want to do with them. You have a dual agent, let's say we have a seller, you see a property and it happens to be our seller, we got to disclose to you that we listed that property for the seller. As long as you don't have a problem with it, seller doesn't have a problem with it, it's a dual agency. If the seller or the buyer has a problem with the one agent representing both sides of the transaction, you have what's called a designated agent. And so what happens is that the broker will assign someone different to either work with the seller or the buyer. You have that option, okay? Then you have a transactional license. See, let's say you got kids and you want to sell a property, or, you know, we're friends. You already talked about what you want to sell the property for and all of that. But you need a real estate professional to just make it all happen. They have no preferred size in the transactional licensee position. So those are all the license types of agencies that we have in the state of Pennsylvania. Does anybody have any questions about that real quick? Because that is important that that be given to you before you discuss anything financially with us. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Just for the process of becoming a real estate agent, for example, you just get one real estate license, and then you can be any of these things at any different point in time.
Well, it depends on who you're representing. It's almost like a lawyer. So if I called you up and I said I'm not an agent or a broker, and I'm sorry, what's your name? Glenda, I get a good vibe about you, Glenda. This is your lucky day. I do, I get a good vibe about you. That's my card. But, and I say, Glenda, I have a house, I want you to sell the house for me.
Right.
You can do, well, we do a listing contract. You're gonna give me a listing contract. And you're gonna tell me, you're gonna provide me with a comparable market analysis, and you're gonna tell me what the value of my property you think is. But I'm gonna make the final decision as to what I want to sell my house for, because I may have a mortgage, I may have some debt, and I gotta settle that, plus I gotta pay you commission.
Right.
So that's the employment contract, it's a listing contract. So in that situation, you are a seller's agent. Now, there are some real estate offices that don't practice dual agency. I practice dual agency. I can't speak for other brokers.
Right.
You know, but I believe as long as it's full disclosure, it's not a problem. But those are the options. So that's how that one works, okay?
Okay.
Now, the business relationship agreement is what you will wind up signing with the person. You feel comfortable with the agent or the broker. You want them to work for you. They're going to tell you how many days the contract is for. If you are in agreement with it, those number of days are negotiable. They don't have to be there. Like my office, I typically do 120 days. But if a person had a bad experience with somebody else and they don't feel comfortable doing 120, I ask the person, what do you feel comfortable with? It doesn't matter because I already know what I'm going to do and I'm going to do the right thing. And I believe all my colleagues in this room will as well. So that's what that is. And so that allows them at that point, once you sign that, to speak to the loan officers and to be able to make appointments to show you properties. This is what that is. Until then, they are not working for you. So you gotta, if you feel comfortable, you're gonna sign it, okay? So now the next thing is the buyer financial information. I'm gonna abbreviate that. This is where we're gonna ask you your name and, you know, well, I usually write the date of birth, they took that off, social security number, they took that off. There's a separate form that you fill out for the social security number. Mostly need that to be able to provide to the lender and also to the title company to be able to run your credit, et cetera. And you're signing off on that. You're gonna talk about your assets are your bank accounts. If you have whole life insurance, and I know Sean in the back, she sells that, very good product. I got a couple of products with State Farm as well. You can use the cash value as the asset, and she can speak on that later. And so those are all assets, checking account, savings account, 401ks, whatever you have that's liquidable assets. Those are your assets. Liabilities, car notes, student loans, credit cards, outstanding utility bills. You can put all that on the form, okay? Then we'll send that to the lender. They're gonna ask you, do you own any other real estate? How long have you worked for your company? Who you're working for? They usually like the same type of employment, maybe 2 years. There's no other lender in the room, but I think it may be still 2 years. You're gonna sign off on all of that, right? And they're gonna ask you, do you get bonuses, child support? You know, I believe you can also use that as a form of income. Okay, so they're gonna ask you all that. If you owe child support, you gotta sign up that you owe child support. They're gonna ask you what the docket number is, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to be prepared for that, all right? So then you have all of that. Now, you know, the lender said we use same scenario, $100,000. Now, we use what's called the multiple listing service. In our area, it's called Trend. It is very crucial that everybody have an email address because in this world of technology, things are happening so quick. They get your email address. You say, let's say you want to live in University City. University City 19104. You want to throw that in there, 19139. You know, you want to live in West Philly, whatever, 19143, blah, blah, blah. So wherever you want to live, they're going to ask you that. We cannot steer you in terms of where. So whatever you do, don't ask anybody, where should I live? You've got to determine that because it's like we're steering you into a particular community, and that is against the fair housing laws. Can't do that, okay? So, you know, drive around and you know, look at where you want to live, blah, blah, blah. So then you're going to tell you, you're going to tell them how many bedrooms you want a garage, don't want a garage, finished basement, blah, blah, blah. They're going to put all that criteria into the multiple listing service. We now know what your price range is of $100,000. The agent might do $80,000 to $100,000, and you know they're going to shoot that email over to you. Most good agents, they take multiple photos of the property, make it real quick. You look at the property, you may have driven by the neighborhood, you like the neighborhood, bam, your agent's going to make an appointment for you. Agent can't make an appointment or shouldn't make appointments to show you any properties without you signing that business relationship agreement, because that is saying that you have employed the person to work for you and to make the appointments. And some savvy real estate companies, they ask that question, okay? So now you see the property. At the property, sometimes they have what's called a seller's disclosure. This is where the seller is telling everything that they know about the condition of the property, the roof all the way down, when's the last time they did the roof, did ever have termites, ever have water problem, blah, blah, blah. They should not lie about that, okay? They're going to sign off on it, they're going to initial every page. That's going to be given to you, you're going to initial and sign. If you see a blank space, do not sign it. You give it back to your agent. Listen, I want to know what the answer is to this. Or your agent could still, let's say it's late at night, could still do the contract, but it would still be contingent on getting a completed seller's disclosure, because you need to have that, because you need to know what you want to do and what you're not willing to do with, okay? So then you got that, and then what your agent should do is provide you with an estimate of closing costs. Never sign an agreement of sale without being given that. And basically that's going to be the PID, the MIP. It's going to show you what your down payment money is. It's going to show you what your monthly payment is and what your monies that you need to bring to the settlement table, okay? So you got all that, the agreement of sale, I don't know, what's that, like 18 pages. The the agent, a broker should go over it with you thoroughly, exactly what you're doing. On their contingency that's very important is the home inspection. We recommend strongly that you get a home inspection. Home inspection company's gonna analyze the property from the roof all the way down to the ground. Most of the time, they have termite companies. If they don't, you have to have a termite company come and check and see whether that property has any termites. Many times, they will check off visible, even though it's just the tunnels of the termites. There's no actual termites that they see, but to protect themselves and to protect you, they're still gonna check off visible, which means that that homeowner typically will provide a certification showing that they've addressed that issue and that's been resolved, okay? So, appraisal, the bank requires that to make sure that the property meets the value, that your sales price is that you're presenting to the seller. You know, you and the seller have agreed to that price and all the contingencies in there. And, the homeowner's insurance, you do a contingency on that because, let's just say, and Shauna can speak on that, let's just say that there's been a history with some problems in that property, or let's just say that area, for whatever reasons, the insurance rates are higher. When we did the estimate of closing costs, we might have used $650, but let's just say you don't have a car. Some insurance companies, again, Shauna can speak on that because that's not what I do. The more things that you have insured, the more discounts you get. So, you know, so I put $650, but because you don't have a car or maybe some other things, your money might be more than that, and you'll speak on that. So, now the estimate of closing costs, that has changed. So if we don't check off that it's contingent on you shopping for the homeowner's insurance, that's a problem because now your payment might be greater than what we thought. And now that budget that you created for yourself in terms of what you wanna spend, that's not what it is. So now, you know, we may have a little situation, we gotta try to work that out. So, you know, it's just an example, so you wanna have that title insurance, Diana Watcher, with Access Abstract, she's gonna talk about that. Thank you.
Hello, thank you so much, Annette. So it's interesting. I was unfortunately late this morning, and that's actually my big thing, is the word late. It's a word you need to know, especially if you're purchasing a home. Why do you need to know late? Not because I was late, but you need to know late for a couple of reasons. One, the first thing you need is a lender. Make sure you have a great relationship with a lender. Definitely look around. We had a couple lenders that were here today who can sit down and speak to you on whatever aspects they can do. If they're unable to help you, next letter, A, make sure you have an agent you're comfortable with, an agent who you can call up and say, you know what, I'm looking to purchase this house, it's a cash deal, what do you think? Or I'm looking to purchase an investment property, you know, my neighbor wants to sell it to me, what are your thoughts on it? You have to have a good relationship with that person. The next thing you have is a title agent. Title agent is always good to have. The reason you need that would be myself. The reason you need a title insurance agent, one big thing, which is something we're running a lot into in Philadelphia, is you have an individual who wants to buy a home. Your next door neighbor is selling you a house. Okay, cash deal. He's gonna hold the mortgage. I don't have to worry about a lender. Don't have to worry about a realtor. You buy that house.
What is holding the mortgage?
Holding the mortgage is instead of going through a lender, you would actually go through, what was your first name again? Eleanor. And it's Eleanor's house. And she says, well, you can buy it from me and just pay me, you know, for the next 15 years until then, and then I'll give you the house. A lot of individuals are doing this. It's not something that I'm in favor of. However, if you choose to do that, that's okay. The reason you should not be in favor is
Oh, is that similar to like rent to?
rent to own options.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, similar.
It depends on how that's being handled. In both of these cases, definitely please get an agent. The reason I say that is 10 years later, you decide you're gonna sell this house that you purchased from Eleanor. You didn't get title insurance on that house.
Eleanor did.
No,
Nobody.
you purchased it.
I purchased.
You purchased it. You have now purchased any liens, water liens, gas liens, tax liens, federal judgments, anything that was on that property, it is now yours because you did not get title insurance. A lot of individuals don't see that, yes.
So title insurance protects you from all those little.
All of the seller's issues, any judgments, cleans water lawsuits. I was in a hit